What does that mean?
Self-acceptance of this diagnosis. We know we have a diagnosis. Now what? What are we going to do now?
The sole purpose of that is to kind of focus on the mental, social, and emotional health of law enforcement.
Times in my own relationships that I was the person that was being abusive.
My story is similar to a lot of domestic violence stories, though everyone is unique in how we handle it, who we are, and how we move forward from it.
This elephant that I have is called post-traumatic stress disorder, post-incarceration.
Even though your road may seem a little rough and rocky at times, never try to walk in someone else's shoes.
So instead of partnering with my pain, I decided to partner with purpose.
Yes, we bring the elephant right into the room.
Welcome everyone to Unbranded. I am your guest host for today, Lady K, and I have the pleasure today of introducing Miss B. Renee Barnes. How are you today?
I am great, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. She is a gospel artist right here, originally from the Bronx, New York, my hometown. Whoop, whoop. Renee, don't mind me. I'm just going to have a lot of fun with you today.
Boogie down Bronx.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So for the people who don't know who you are, introduce yourself.
Well, my name is B. Renee, B standing for Belinda, but the Lord told me to call myself B. Renee, and he actually dropped in my spirit. He said, every time you write B, it's not for Belinda. It's B as in B-E, exist in who I've called you to be. So every time I write B and then write Renee, because growing up and being in the gospel world and the singing world, a lot of times you compare yourselves to other people.
Right.
And I would always feel afraid and shy about moving forward in God because I would always do that. But the Lord dropped in my spirit back in 2004 while I was at work. And I said, what should I call myself for my first CD? And I said, some people know me as Belinda. Right. He said, B. Renee. And I'm like, okay. He said, but it's not for Belinda. It's B, it's exist, it's stand in who I've called you. Just be Renee. Be how I made you.
I love that.
So outside of that, I am a mother of one daughter. She'll be 28 in May.
Okay.
I am an Air Force veteran. Woohoo to vets. And I work with the veterans for the last 17 years, which I enjoy. Okay. I have 3 sisters. My mom and dad are still alive, praise God. And as you know, I'm a widow. Okay. It's been 7 years, but God is faithful.
Right. Can you tell us a little about you being a widow, transforming into being a married woman to a widow?
Sure. I met my husband back in 1977.
Wow.
And we actually dated for 9 years. I didn't intend for it to go that long, but you just let it go. I was only 17, so I wasn't ready. He was 21.
Right.
He waited till I got out of the Air Force, and we got married when I was 26. He was 30, so we were married for 26 years.
Wow.
And we lived in Virginia for a while because I was stationed at Andrews Air Force Base in Maryland. When I got out, we moved to Virginia. Then I had the desire to come back home because we were both I was from the Bronx, he was from Brooklyn.
Nice.
So we waited to start our family, have Heather, after we got back, and we just enjoyed each other and enjoyed life. He was exact opposite for me. I'm an extrovert. He's an introvert. He was a wealth of knowledge, just a wonderful, wonderful person. Very stoic, very serious. Wasn't too much on just nonsense talk. You had to come with a purpose if you were going to have a conversation and indulge him. Me, I'm petty, so you can talk to me about anything and everything, and I'm gonna listen in. But he was all about business. But what a wonderful, wonderful man. So I enjoyed my marriage. I really had the ups and downs like every marriage, but I always knew that I would not allow anybody else in my marriage.
I heard that.
Parents, sisters, friends, no one. Whatever issues we had, we dealt with because 2 became 1.
Right.
Not 3, not 4, not 5.
Right.
Not your in-laws, not your buddies, not your best friend. 2 became 1. So we dealt with our issues, whatever problems we had, we talked them through.
That's a great thing.
So it worked.
Good.
I was the drama queen. Like, why you do this, why you do? He was very calm. But we worked. It wasn't perfect, but he was perfect for me.
That's right. I heard that. God gave you your other half.
Yes.
That was your helpmate.
Yes.
Yes, but one thing I heard that you said you was the funny one, you was the petty one. So that means you had so much joy in you.
Yes, a lot of jokes. Always wanted to smile and see people smile.
That's a good thing.
My mom told me, she said, I remember when you were a baby and I'd go in the middle of the night to check on you while you were in the crib. And when I turned the light on, you'd be sitting up smiling. So it's just who I am. I'm just the type of person, don't like to see people sad.
I see.
I won't stay in that place too long.
Right.
It feels good to be happy and to have joy.
Exactly.
You know, and I think for me, as I've dealt with different circumstances, because we all go through stuff.
Right, exactly.
There's nobody exempt. Whether you know God, don't know God, whether you believe in Him, don't believe in Him, good people, bad people, we all go through stuff.
That is so true.
But I think the difference is the fact that my foundation is in God. And I've been taught faith very young.
Let's
and
talk
I've
about
seen
that.
what God can do.
Right.
Not just what I read He's done over 2,000 years ago for the prophets in the Bible.
Right.
But now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. And I've watched God move in my personal life. His record is good with me.
Right.
His resume is good with me. So even when I'm going through a bad season, because I know what He's done in the past,
Right.
same God. He changes not. The
Exactly.
same yesterday, today, and
tomorrow.
forever.
Right.
So when I think back and say, okay, God, I'm in the midst of this right now. But when I think, but wait a minute, you did this for me when I thought it wasn't going to work out. Same principle. And this is what I teach my daughter. When you start to understand who God is and you start to trust Him, and He works things out for you in His time. When you go through the next thing, don't forget what He did before and use that same discipline, that same principle and say, you know what, God, I'm believing on you. I don't know how you're going to do it. I don't see it. My little mind can't conceive it, but I trust you.
Right.
And when you get that and it's rooted and grounded, you can have joy. There's a difference between joy and being happy.
Right.
Things make you happy.
Yes.
Happiness is temporary. But when it comes to the joy for me is when you have that peace on the inside, no matter what's
your
going on,
circumstances.
that you have hope, and your hope is in Him. And when you have hope, the joy is inevitable.
Right.
It's there. So even in my darkest moment, I always knew that I'm going to heal.
I hear that.
I always knew it.
I love that.
I always knew. I made the choice to.
Right. That is a choice. Joy is a choice.
Joy is a choice. Healing is a choice. It's all to serve God. Everything is a choice.
Right.
When God gave us free will, we get to choose.
Exactly.
We get to choose whether we're going to go out to work, if we're going to stay home. And I always say nothing happens until something is spoken. So I speak into the atmosphere. I'm going to have a good day. Tell my daughter, don't worry, we got this. You're going to be fine.
Right.
Even when I lost my husband, I said, you know what? I will heal. I told my father the day I lost my husband, I can't wait to heal. I made a decision. Did I still have to go through the grief? Absolutely. But even with that, even those nights when I cried so hard, I kept saying, God, I'm going to heal. Thank you for my healing. I would speak it before I saw it.
Right.
Thank you for my healing. Still have my moments, but I say, God, thank you that I'm not where I was, because it's been 7 years. I'm not where I was 2 years ago, 4 years ago, or when it first happened.
Okay.
I see the progress.
Okay.
You know, and some things it's not going to happen overnight. In the process is where we get our strength, we become stronger, we know God in a different way, and we build those spiritual muscles.
Absolutely.
And we're able to be a mentor and teach the ones coming up under us, say, look, I understand what you're going through, been there, done that, but let me tell you what God can do.
Exactly.
Despite.
B. Renee, when I just listen to you, you are joy. You said when you was a baby, you said your mother would just look at you and you just be smiling. God instilled joy in you. So you are a primary definition of joy. Like you said, you've been through the fire and the rain and you just bounce back. I love your energy. I just love that. Is that where you got the energy to put in your book?
Absolutely.
And to sing?
Yes, absolutely. Well, singing, my dad was a singer.
Okay.
So, you know, the Bible does speak of train up a child in the way they should go. So my mother saw that I could sing, so she started me out with voice lessons. So I was coming to 125th Street at 9 years old.
Wow.
Going to voice lessons. And that's one thing that we have to teach and remember as parents. When you see something in your child, do whatever you need to hone that skill.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's what my mom did. But being raised in the church, I mean, I have preachers on both sides of my family. My mother's father was a preacher. Her 3 brothers are still preachers now here in New York. My father's one brother was a pastor, preacher. He passed, but his son is a preacher. So on both sides. So I was taught faith in who God was, whether I wanted to know about it or not.
Absolutely.
It was ingrained in me. And I watched my mom, who was a woman full of faith, watch her go through some changes, but never wavered. So, you know, that's why I can continue it, because I saw examples.
Right.
You know, and then this is the thing that I pass down to my daughter, and that's what we're here to do. We, like I tell people, my daughter, I said, look, you're 27, you don't know what it is to be 28, 29, 30, so that's why you need me in your life to help use my wisdom.
The guidance.
With my mother, I don't know what it is to be, I'm 60, I don't know what it is to be 61, 62, 65. She's 70, I mean, she's 79, so I'm like, she can tell me what happened from 61 up to that point.
Absolutely.
So see, we all need each other. You just have to have a teachable spirit as well.
That's so true, and with wisdom. Yes, and do it with love.
Yeah, with love. Right,
yes,
right,
that's the key thing with love today. Especially in today's society, it's so crazy out there. You know, you see so many domestic violence cases.
I know.
We can go on and on, and I'm sure.
Have compassion and love.
And I'm sure within your 60 years on this earth, you done seen a lot, you done heard a lot.
Oh yes, oh yes.
How do you deal with bitter people?
You know what it is? It's so funny. I work at the VA, and there was a patient that came in one day, and I guess he heard from different people that, oh, she's a Christian, she loves God. He came in one day in the eye clinic, and I'm doing his preliminary exam, and just out of the blue, he said, I'm atheist. He said, what do you think about that?
Okay.
So I said to him, so, I love you anyway. Doesn't matter. And he put a smile on his face.
Because he felt appreciated, he felt welcome.
Listen, humanity, love. God teaches us to love. It has nothing to do with, it shouldn't have anything to do with how somebody feels about us. Don't get me wrong. There's certain people I know they have to stay there, but I don't wish any harm from them.
Right.
I don't wish anything bad. If I hear anything that's going on, I'm praying for them.
Right.
But that's also a place we have to get to.
Absolutely.
You know, we have to grow forth.
Exactly.
You know, in my younger years, obviously, you know, we're young and we get upset. But as you get older and you get settled and you see things and you have experiences and you speak to the elders and you read your word and all of that together gives you wisdom
and you minister
how
through
to
your
deal.
Music.
Yes, through the music, absolutely.
Right,
Yeah,
that's going to be wonderful things because, ladies and gentlemen, she's going to bless us with a song after we come back from this break, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yes, and it's from your new album?
It's actually from the last album. I'm working on another one.
Okay. I can't wait to hear it. But ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back. Thank you and tune in.
Great day. This is Tomei. Thank you and welcome to the Worth Justice Network.
Because of the ebullience that Black folks were expressing around Obama's election and how they believed that they were now pretty much on par socioeconomically with white folks, there were no policies that were being made to help their stagnated socioeconomic outcomes.
I'm terrified at the moral apathy, the death of the heart, which is happening in my country. These people have deluded themselves for so long that they really don't think I'm human. I base this on their conduct, not on what they say. And this means that they have become, in themselves, moral monsters.
Because of you, I felt hopeless.
Because you said rude things about my work, I started to question my own voice.
I know it was a joke, but it still hurt me.
Because of your negative comments online, I've almost quit doing the one thing that makes me happiest in life.
Because you shared something about me that was private, I felt embarrassed.
Because you said hi to me on the first day of school, I felt included and I knew that I was going to be okay.
Because of you sharing your story with me, I feel comfortable sharing my own.
Because you were there when I was coming out, you helped me regain my confidence.
I'm still here today because of you.
And so what I want to share is that the purpose of one of the reasons why I started Unbranded, this show to be produced, is because I am a sexual assault survivor. I am a child sexual abuse survivor. I am a rape survivor. And I understand how horrific it is to live in silence, how it's numbing to pretend something didn't happen when the memories and the nightmares keep telling you and reminding you that it did. And I found out that I wasn't the only one living and suffering in silence. So that's why Unbranded came to be, because it's like it's time for us to be able to talk. We have to start destigmatizing dialogues, because it's not normal for you to be sexually abused as a child, as an adult, teen, rape. That's not normal. You know, but we want to try to normalize it by pretending it doesn't exist. And so Unbranded is here for that. So we can talk about these difficult topics.
Welcome back, everyone, to Unbranded with your host today of Lady K and B Renee. And when we was in there, we was talking about a little bit about her music. So now I'm going to ask you, do you write all your music?
Most of the songs I write. There's a few that we got permission to rearrange.
Nice.
Yeah, but a lot of the songs were written during the hardest times in my life. My very first single, called In Your Presence, was written when my husband was first diagnosed with cancer. And his journey started because of 9/11. He ended up with cancer, and it was called In Your Presence, because in his presence there's fullness of joy.
Right.
That's where your healing comes. That's when there's no anxiety, there's peace, there's hope. So that was my first song. And then my first CD was called I've Got to Do It. Because that was actually prophetically told to me that the Lord was going to use me and I'd be making CDs. Meanwhile, I was okay with being a wife, a mother, doing praise and worship at church, going to work. That was fine for me. I've never been the type that really liked the stage thing and all of that, because I was always shy. So I'd be a nervous wreck until it was done. So I was so good with just doing that. And then when that word came,
he called you out.
He called me out.
Yeah.
And the wonderful thing what people have to realize with prophecy, that doesn't mean you sit and do nothing until God drops everything in your lap.
Right.
That means get to work.
Absolutely.
So I started writing some songs. I have a few. My sister, she wrote a couple, you know, different people, but most of the songs I wrote through my experience. And that's how God had me to release it.
Right, exactly. And you know what, too? Just listening to you, you probably didn't realize it, but as I'm listening to your story, God was preparing you for your next season. See, he already knew it was going to happen. He knew the transition was going to happen with your husband. So he said, you know, a lot of people go through this. They say, you know, when my spouse died, what am I supposed to do next? What is my next thing? He was gearing you that. He was preparing you. So when now your husband passed, so it's like, okay, now you're going to minister to my people through music.
Right.
This is the healing, because you understand it. You can relate.
Right.
You can talk about it, because they need to hear that. They need to see examples. Right. And you are a primary example. You are a woman of God, and you carry yourself very well with joy, because we are here today inside with joy with B Renee. Exactly. But I want to tell you something, B Renee. You don't know this, but I researched you. Right?
Really?
Yes, and I found something so amazing. I wrote it down because I want to make sure that I have it intact. So I looked up one of your songs, and I believe it was called Your Grace Is Enough.
Yes.
And not even that I love the song, I saw the video.
Oh.
And when I saw the video, let me tell you what I saw. I saw an average person just having fun. People make it seem as a Christian, you're supposed to be so serious. They think you're supposed to be carrying around a Bible talking about God. And it's like, no, that's not what God is about. And you keep telling me your grace is enough because you gave me the joy. And I walk around with joy, and I'm in a primary example. And the people in the video, there was this all different shapes and sizes.
Yes.
And there was this free and different hairstyles. I love that.
Wow. Oh,
what
awesome.
inspired you to do so?
Well, first of all, the song, I didn't write that. That's what they call from Christian Contemporary. It's like a standard. Chris Tomlin, different people sing it, but I rearranged it. And that song also came during my struggle when my husband was sick. Okay. And I called my sister and I said, I need to rearrange that, pep it up a little bit, move it a little faster. And we decided to go to Coney Island. That's where it took place. Correct. In Coney Island. And like you, I tell people, I'm the epitome of silliness, laughter. I mean, sometimes overboard, but whatever.
It's all right. It's all right.
Exactly. Totally insane and crazy from the time I get up to the time I go to bed. I mean, I'm with the veterans all day in the waiting room. If somebody's playing a song from The Temptation, I'll be in the waiting room and I'll just all of a sudden start dancing while I'm calling their name back to examine them. That's the,
I love
listen,
that.
You know what I tell people? Don't wait till you feel like laughing.
Right.
Laugh and allow your feelings to catch up with it. Act it out first and let your feelings catch up. And that's what I did even after my husband passed. I went back to work 2 weeks later, and I said, I'm gonna get up, get in the shower, put on my best, even though in my soul I was grieving,
Correct.
I said, I'm going to work and I'm gonna put the smile on my face. And you know what? For those 8 hours, I felt good.
Wow. 2
I felt
weeks
good.
after?
Yeah, I went back to work and my daughter went back to college. And I mentioned that in my book, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But I'm a person I'm very proactive and very intentional. And I also realize that in the midst of our grief, which is something you can't bypass, the enemy tries to bring other stuff in.
Right.
And he wants you to sit in that.
Exactly.
He wants you to sit in anger. He wants you to sit in anxiety. And because I know a lot of things are spiritual warfare, I know how to be intentional. So I said, Lord, I'm going through this, but I know I'm coming out. And while I'm crying, I'm still gonna smile when I can. I mean, I kept singing.
Right.
I didn't stop singing. But because for me, as I was healing somebody else, it was healing for me.
Right.
The gifts that God gives us is not just to help other people, but sometimes we need it for ourselves.
Absolutely.
So, but Grace is Enough, that's one of my favorites because it was fun. We were on the subway.
Right, exactly.
And people were looking at us and we were having a ball.
Yeah, we was having a blast.
Yes.
I said, I like this. This is what we need to be
Yes,
seeing.
exactly.
Not the holy road.
And that's what makes a lot of people don't want to be or
Exactly.
as a Christian say like y'all too uptight. Not me, I'm not one of those.
Or even to want to come step foot in the church.
Right,
But just like you said, the atheist said, I'm an atheist. And it's like, okay.
Yeah,
so,
like I still love you. You can't stop me from loving you.
Right. Somebody asked me recently too. She was like, would you get offended if you invited me to church knowing that I'm not a Christian? I said, no. I said, because that's my purpose.
Right.
My purpose is to show you. It's
There
not
you go.
to convict you.
Exactly.
The Holy Spirit is supposed to convict you. God is supposed to
That's
put it
right.
in your heart.
Yes.
That's not my
I'm
job.
just my
I'm
job just
supposed
to bring
to
you.
love
Right.
you
There you
and
go.
accept you for who you are. And when people say, when you show, I'm correct, when you show that you're embracive, they want to know what you're on. They want to know, can I get some of that joy?
Yeah.
They want that, and that's what we're supposed to do. So I really think sometimes people in the church, we need to stop
Just
being
relax.
uptight. Yeah,
Just
right.
relax.
And even throw away the titles, because sometimes people get caught up in the titles.
Relax, because let me tell you something. Outside of those four walls, there's a lot of living to do.
Right.
And we're outside of them more than we're in them.
Right.
And we're in the workplace. People are watching our lives outside. To me, the church is just to get the refilling and the reviving and get the word and go
like-minded
out.
people coming together, because that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to. And we feed off each other. And we need that.
Exactly.
It's
A
not
place to
just the
retreat to.
pastor duty just to fill you up.
No.
You don't know if what he's going through. You can come in and put a smile on your face, and it's because of that he feels good.
Right.
And now
Your
he
worship.
can deliver the word.
Right.
Because he saw your face. It's a balance. It's not about the talent. It's what we can all do collectively.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Anything else you want to tell us about B. Renee that we don't know?
Let's see. Is there anything else? I'm such an open book. And, I'm so transparent. There's so much I can talk about.
What about the new music?
Oh, my goodness. I did a live recording that should be coming out shortly where we went from we did a time travel from spirituals, which my daughter graduated with a master's in classical music. So
Beautiful.
she sang the first 2 songs.
So music's in the blood.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah, yeah.
gosh.
She's actually a music teacher now here in the Bronx, giving back.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so we did a time travel from spirituals to hymns to some of those old time Pentecostal songs, which was a live CD. So that should be coming out shortly. So I'm excited about that.
Okay, I'm excited about
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Nice,
My
nice.
first live recording, and it was absolutely amazing. And when I tell you that God was in the building, and that's so important to me, whenever I sing, whenever I go out to talk, whatever I do, is that God will be there and his anointing will be present.
Right, exactly. And you did your part because he's in you and you're going to let him flow out of you. And I love that. And that's going to bless the people. When we minister to people, we don't realize, we just think, we're just simple Joe, average Joe.
Right.
And you just don't even know. They can look at you like, that's my Beyonce. They be like, thank you, B. Renee. You have no idea. You just bless me.
And I take it so seriously and so personal. It's like, Lord, don't let me let down your people.
Right.
I mean, that's one of the biggest things on my heart. I said, God, I don't want to waste anyone's time, and I want him to rise from his rest and be blessed by our praise.
Right.
And I said, even my book is a form of praise.
Right.
Because as we talk later, I didn't do a book because I wanted to.
Right.
The Lord ordained it.
I hear that.
And that's a whole nother story for the second. Yeah.
I can't wait to hear that. I can't wait to hear that. Well, I do have a question for you. As you go out there and you minister to people and, you're doing your recordings, how do you keep yourself grounded? Because, sometimes people say, she's out there, she's recording her music, and, how does she do it? Like, how does she keep herself to that place where she stays humble and you don't let all the fame go to your head?
Yeah. number one, I've never been one, like I said, I don't like all the attention.
Right.
There's times I've gone to places to sing and they'll say, can you do 2 songs? I said, I can do 1 if you want.
Right.
I'm always bowing out.
Right.
But what keeps me grounded, I believe, is relationship and foundation. And I make sure to get to my church. That's very important.
Right.
And then after you go through a life-changing experience as losing my husband, I don't even have to worry about that anymore, because I saw him lose weight from 225 to 150. Wow. And his faith until I'm not the same person before he passed. So now I don't even worry about losing myself to people pat me on the back, which I don't like. I'm like, please don't talk a lot about me. Let me just go up and sing, because I saw what life is really about, and that this time period that we're here is not that long.
Right, exactly.
But what we do with it is what matters. That dash in the middle between the birth date and the death date
absolutely
is what we do with it, and that's more important. And God has shown me visions and different things after my husband died. So I'm on a path, and I'm so wrapped up and tied up into what my purpose is, because through much travail and pain, God has birthed new ministries.
Right.
So I'm so connected that I honestly can say that won't happen to me, because I've never been a person full of pride or into me. I'm always concerned about how other people are ministered to.
Right.
If they come out, if it's one person that said, that blessed me, you touched my life, then I say, to God be the glory. Like I had a conference call last night, and someone sent me a message. They said, thank you so much for that conference call with our widows. They said, you don't know how much I needed.
Wow, just like that.
Just like that. And meanwhile, you think you're not doing a whole lot, but
you're doing something.
Yeah.
You're doing your part.
Right, in
now,
the kingdom.
I have a question for you, because I know pretty soon you're going to bless us with a song. The song that you're going to, what song, matter of fact, what song, what's the selection?
It's called Committed to Live.
Committed. Tell us a little bit about Committed before you give us the performance.
I was sitting at the train station waiting for my husband to get off, the year before he passed, get off the train. I would pick him up because he was so weak after his chemo and everything. And I was actually parked near a cemetery. And I looked at him like, that's a place of death, but I'm looking at people going to and fro, and I said, a lot of these people are just walking zombies, and I'm just looking at expressions. And I sat there, and I was at a light, and the song started coming to me, but God kind of redirected some of the words after my husband passed to remind me, you have to go on, you have to live.
Right.
And whatever you decide to do, it's a commitment. You have to be committed.
I love that.
Committed means it has nothing to do with how you feel.
Right. All right, this is B. Renee busting us with the song Committed. I can't wait.
Suicide is death by self-directed violence with an intent to die. It's also preventable. Suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the U.S. This serious public health issue impacts the lives of individuals, families, and communities every day. More than 120 suicides occur in the United States each day. For every 1 suicide, there are an estimated 30 attempts. Suicide and non-fatal self-directed violence cost the U.S. more than $69 billion every year. People may be at risk for suicide if they have a family history of suicide, previous suicide attempts, social isolation, economic hardship, or a history of mental health problems or alcohol and substance abuse. Warning signs include talking about or threatening suicide, or actively looking for means to do so. Sudden changes in behavior or mood, especially following a painful event or loss, can also be warning signs. But the good news is that suicide is preventable. There are strategies that prevent suicide by reducing risks and increasing protective factors. You can help by strengthening access and delivery of suicide care, creating protective environments, promoting connectedness, teaching coping and problem-solving skills, identifying and supporting people at risk, lessening harms and preventing future risk, and by strengthening economic supports. Working together, we can prevent suicide.